So now we're starting to potentially see, because once again, this is all your point of reference. Okay, we're seeing that I am a cell within this larger cell called humanity, the solar system, the universe, life. And I'm having this conversation and this connection. So can I then start to see that internally? We can get some type of concept from a biological, physiological perspective that this muscle is connected to these ligaments, connected to these bones, and when I move this or contract or extend the muscle, then I create movement in a sense. And all of the other organs and all the other bits. So let's look at it from a psychological level if we then start to see it through the lens of internal family systems. And remember too, this conversation is about where are you creating from? Are you creating from hope or fear? And I'm going to shift that into the analogy of parts work within internal family systems. So this internal family systems, and there's many conversations that I've had around this, suggests that there is that we have, rather than one mind, mono-mind, we have poly-mind. And poly-mind suggests that there's many parts to the mind. Now, I've always been a proponent of you are not your mind's a part of you. And then, people go, oh, well, if it's a part of me, then what am I, Maurice? And I go, well, let's just look for this thing called awareness. That I'm aware that there's something going on here. Yeah. Now, some people might go, well, isn't that your mind, Maurice? You go, well, it could be your mind, and if that's what you feel comfortable with, then let's go with that. If you felt that it was something a bit more than the mind, maybe there was this consciousness, this awareness that pervades time and space that seems to have been with you since the time that you were born or what you can remember to the time that you die, and maybe even after the time of your death of the physical body, that consciousness could continue. Maybe it's eternal. Maybe it's connected to something much more than this. Maybe the universe, maybe God, maybe the creator, maybe source. Whatever it is that you might have an affinity with. So there's this concept within internal family systems which I absolutely adore, and it's this concept of self, and this self-energy. So there's self-energy and then there's parts energy. This self-energy, it comes from a place that does not experience threat. And parts energy come from a place which experience threat. So you've got this fear that sits within threat because there's an unknown. And then you've got this self-energy that is not threatened. And we use the 8 C's. Let's see if I can get this correct. And these 8 C's, I believe, are the gateway to feeling self-energy. They're not what self-energy is. They're just a doorway to opening it and then experiencing and go, oh, yeah, that feels like self-energy. Yeah. So the 8 C's in internal family system is when you're calm, when you're creative, when you have compassion, when you feel connected, with a sense of confidence, a sense of courage, a sense of curiosity and clarity. Wow, I did that really well. Usually I'll miss one out. I will remember it later. So those 8 C's are sort of gateways into this space that is considered self. So this self, it doesn't feel threatened, and it makes sense that, for me to feel calm, I can't necessarily feel threatened. I know that some people might feel calm in chaos. That I'd probably suggest that that's maybe a part, not too sure. Once again, open to this. When there's a sense of confidence, definitely where there's a sense of compassion. When you have compassion for another and compassion for self, you are coming from a non-threatening place. So that resides in this non-threatening space. For some of you who may be aware of A Course in Miracles, the beautiful opening lines of the beginning pages of it says that, and it's so profound, Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God, as in P-E-A-C-E. So nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. So this nothing real can be threatened would then suggest that this self-energy, it's not a threat, it's not threatened. So maybe there's a realness to that, and maybe we all have that. And what they found through this therapy, through this model of the mind, is that there is this essence of self that people can tap into. So then if these parts are there, and these parts are to protect the woundings that happen of the psyche and the emotional state in early childhood and through that. So these parts are then born to create and protect. And you know, we could look at self-doubt as a protector, we could look at the procrastinator as a protector, look at anger, we could look at jealousy as a protector. So there's these different parts, and you'll get to notice them through the emotional activation that they give you, and that you as awareness can then start to become. You know, we've spoken about this before when we say, you know, explain your anger rather than express it. And through mindfulness and awareness, and through self-energy, we can say, I'm noticing there's a part of me that's feeling frustrated now. What is it frustrated about? It's frustrated that I can't get my words out. You know, it's frustrated that that I'm not feeling heard in this moment. So see how we're talking for the part, not from the part. So when we speak from the part, we are the part, and we're blended to it or fused to it. And we can't see that there's anything other than this part. So we have these series of parts. Now the tricky thing here is that this internal family systems model allows us to, and I love it because it uses mindfulness as the key form of inquiry, vehicle of inquiry, is going, wow, can I notice these state shifts? Can I notice these different subpersonalities that I have? Can I notice where there is something happening, something arising within me? And can I speak for that rather than speaking from it? This is a really beautiful skill that can be achieved. Now, as we're starting to pull this apart and start to become more and more aware of it, and I'll do separate videos. I've already got separate videos on it, and I'd like to, you know, expand on that a little bit further, just from my own interpretations. Is that most of it, if we're unaware, what sometimes we might find is we're more parts-led than self-led. And what we're trying to move towards is becoming more self-led than parts-led. So becoming more, in a sense, responsive rather than reactive. More open-hearted rather than closed, protecting. Now, think about that from the, you know, how do I manifest, how do I create? If I'm more parts-led, I'm also going to create from a platform where parts are creating from, and remember, parts feel threatened. Whereas if I'm more self-led, I'm going to create from a platform that is more open-hearted rather than closed-hearted and protecting. Notice that these two platforms are different. Now, I'm not saying that one is better than the other, because, you know, just because it's a part, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Parts come from self. They're put into parental roles at early ages to protect self, protect the innocence. So they're actually a part of something. We don't want to cut them out, we don't want to get rid of them. However, it's good to be able to be aware of, where am I creating from? Am I creating from parts, threat, fear, or am I creating from self, which I'm putting into that hope category? I think probably even more than hope, it's coming from that really beautiful, calm, courageous, compassionate space. So whatever platform I'm creating from, I will then receive what I'm creating from that. And remember too that we're not, you know, I don't go through my days of 100% self. I'll notice my parts arising, and they'll want to speak, and I'll inquire into them, and I'll see what they've got to say. So beautiful self-energy is sitting there, or having this loving conversation with it. It's not happening all the time. Sometimes I'm really fused to my parts and I'm reacting and I'm firefighting and I'm protecting. And then maybe later I'll then start to recognize that as a part. So in those moments I'm creating from those parts. In those moments I'm creating from self. Imagine if you could be consciously aware of, where am I creating from? Because they're two different platforms. You're transmitting from fear, you're transmitting from open-heartedness. I can receive what I've created in the non-physical from fear being placed upon my path, and I can also receive from creating from a place of open-heartedness will then also be placed upon my path. So notice there's this real interplay. So as we go through our days, can we look at our days and go, wow, what's arising within me? Is there a part, or is there self-energy? From those moments, so it's in the moment that you then receive and transmit. So you're receiving information that is being created from the past. As you receive it, am I able to notice my arisings, notice the awareness, gratitude and appreciation, being grateful for discomfort, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. First 3 chapters of the book, stuff that I've spoken about for years, can I then start to flip it and rewire that information so then I can then transmit from that point of now? Because as I transmit, I then ultimately will then receive as I continue to move in these nows. So I'm creating in the non-physical, and when it's had enough information to be consolidated, manifest, then it just works its way into the physical. And it's placed upon my path. How do I receive it? And then how do I then transmit from it? In the next video, I want to talk about how parts and self use particular values to create from, and what that actually can look like.